Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Well, today we're taking a trip back in time, back to the Roaring Twenties, with Aldous Huxley's Antic Hay.
Ah, Antic Hay. Such a fascinating and surprisingly relevant novel.
It really is. It's set in London, just after World War I, and it's all about this sense of disillusionment, right? This search for meaning in a world that suddenly feels absurd.
Exactly. Huxley captures that post-war zeitgeist so brilliantly, the feeling of displacement, the longing for something to believe in, and he does it all with this incredibly sharp wit and satirical edge.
Which he uses to really lay bare the hypocrisy of society, especially among, as he calls them, the best people.
Oh, yes, the best people. They're such a delicious target for Huxley's satire. He really skewers their pretensions and their shallowness.
I get to see them up close and personal through the eyes of Mr. Bojanus, or insightful Taylor.
Bojanus, he's such a fantastic character. I mean, he's literally dressing these best people. Right?
Right.
So he sees them at their most vulnerable, so to speak.
He does. He hears all their gossip, sees all their little secrets, and he has some pretty interesting theories about them, too.
Like what?
Well, for example, he argues that the best people actually need eccentricity in their leaders. They crave these larger-than-life figures to give them a sense of devotion, and also to validate their own sense of superiority.
That's so true. It's like they need someone to look up to, someone who embodies all the qualities they aspire to, even if those qualities are, well, a bit outrageous.
Right. And it makes you wonder, does anything really change? I mean, don't we still see this fascination with eccentric personalities today?
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's in politics, entertainment, or even just on social media, we're drawn to those who stand out, who break the mold, even if their behavior is, let's say, unconventional.
It's like the more outrageous they are, the more we're willing to overlook their flaws or even celebrate them as signs of genius.
And Huxley really nails that dynamic. He shows us how these best people create these elaborate facades, these masks they wear to hide their own insecurities and emptiness.
Like Mrs. Vivash, right?
Oh, Mrs. Vivash. She's the epitome of that. This dazzling socialite who flits from one party to the next, always chasing pleasure, always seeking validation.
And the way she talks about love, it's so cynical, reducing it to just this game of conquest. But at the same time, there's something oddly relatable about it, too.
I think that's because Huxley tapped into something universal about human nature, this fear of genuine intimacy, this tendency to protect ourselves from getting hurt by keeping things superficial, and you see that playing out in all sorts of ways in the novel.
Especially with Gumbril, our protagonist.
Yeah.
This disillusioned school teacher who seems to be constantly searching for something, but never quite finding it.
Gumbril, he's such a wonderfully complex character. He's intelligent, but also kind of lost, and of course we can't forget his patent small clothes.
Oh, those inflatable trousers.
Yeah.
What a brilliant invention.
Right. It's hilarious, but it's also incredibly symbolic. You have this man surrounded by tradition and authority, but his mind is preoccupied with this absurd, almost childlike creation.
It's like he's trying to find a way to escape the pressures of his life, to create a little bubble of comfort in a world that feels increasingly chaotic.
Exactly. And it's not just Gumbril. His father, Gumbril Sr., is also searching for a way to impose order on the chaos.
Oh, right. With his architectural ambitions. He wants to build this grand, harmonious city as if that would somehow solve all of London's problems.
And it's such a noble idea, but it also feels incredibly, futile. Like, he's trying to control something that is inherently uncontrollable, kind of like Gumbril with his inflatable trousers in a way.
And it makes you wonder, are we any different today? Don't we all have our own patent small clothes? Our own ways of coping with the complexities of modern life?
I think so. Whether it's through technology, entertainment, or just plain old daydreaming, we're constantly seeking distractions, ways to escape the pressures and anxieties of our existence.
Like we're all searching for that magic bullet, that one thing that will make everything okay.
Yeah.
But maybe Huxley is suggesting that true meaning doesn't come from some external thing, but from how we engage with the world and with each other.
And that brings us to one of the most, I think, poignant themes in Antic Hay. Love, sex, relationships, the whole messy business of human connection, especially in a society like this where the old rules are breaking down and everyone's kind of adrift.
You really see that with Gumbril, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he's constantly searching for intimacy, for connection, But he always seems to sabotage himself.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Like with Emily, there's this real spark between them, this intense connection, but then it just fizzles out.
It's like he's afraid to let himself get too close, too vulnerable.
Right. It's almost as if genuine love is just too risky in this cynical, superficial world.
Which is interesting because his most lasting relationship in the book is with someone who embodies that cynicism. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Vivesh. Exactly.
Mrs. Vivesh. Their whole connection is built on the shared sense of disillusionment, this kind of world-weary wit.
They even call their affair a dream. Right?
Yeah.
It's like they both know it's not real, that they're just playing a role.
And it makes you think, doesn't it, about how we present ourselves today, especially, online. It's like we're all crafting these carefully curated personas, these masks we wear to hide our true selves.
Like we're afraid to let our guard down, to risk being truly seen.
That fear of vulnerability is everywhere in Antic Hay. Even with Gumbril and Emily, their night in the dark room, they can only be honest with each other when they're literally hidden from view.
It's like as soon as the lights come on, the spell is broken.
And then there's Rosie. Poor Rosie.
She's such a tragic figure, isn't she?
Yeah.
Trapped in this loveless marriage with Shearwater.
She's so desperate for love, for connection, but she keeps making these self-destructive choices.
And Huxley doesn't shy away from showing how her own vanity, her self-deception contribute to her downfall.
Yeah. He's not afraid to show his characters' flaws, their complexities, and it's what makes them so human, so relatable.
And it's not just about romantic relationships, right? Huxley also explores the complexities of art and creativity in this world.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Lippiatt, the painter. He's so passionate about his art, but he's also incredibly insecure. He wants to be recognized, but he's also terrified of selling out.
And that scene at his exhibition when he attacks the critic.
Oh, man. That's such a powerful moment. You can just feel his frustration, his desperation to be understood.
It's like he wants to believe that art can transcend the marketplace, the whole system of judgment and evaluation, but he also knows it's not that simple.
And then you have Shearwater, who represents a very different approach to art. He's just happy to create, He's not driven by fame or fortune.
He's content to just let his music speak for itself.
Yeah, and there's a real beauty in that, in his quiet dedication to his craft.
It's like Huxley's showing us these different paths, right? These different ways of trying to find meaning in a world that often feels meaningless.
And maybe the key is not so much about finding some grand answer, some ultimate truth,
but more about those little moments, right? Those moments of connection, of beauty, of just being present.
Yeah. Like Gumbril and Emily in the dark room. Or Gumbril Sr. with his architectural dreams. Even though they're kind of fleeting, those moments, they still matter.
He give us something to hold on to.
Yeah.
In the midst of all the chaos and absurdity.
And maybe that's what makes Antic Hay so enduring. It doesn't offer any easy answers, any neat resolutions, but it reminds us that it's okay to not have all the answers.
And that the search for meaning, the search for connection, it's a journey, right? It's not a destination.
Exactly. And along the way, we're going to stumble, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to get lost sometimes.
Well, that's all part of it, right? That's what makes us human.
And Huxley reminds us to find the humor in it all, to not take ourselves too seriously.
Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure things out, right? To find our place in this crazy world.
And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the whole point.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into Antic Hay. Thanks for joining us. And if you haven't read the book, I highly recommend it.
It's definitely worth a read. Even nearly 100 years later, it's still got so much to say about the human condition.
It really does. So until next